Hi, everyone. Before we dive into this episode, I want to give a clear and important trigger warning. This conversation includes the discussion of sexual abuse. It's one of the most sensitive and powerful interviews I've ever recorded. Out of respect for Elizabeth Smart, some topics were off limits, and we did not go into graphic detail about her 9-month captivity. If you're interested in learning more about that part of her story, I highly recommend her book. Elizabeth is incredibly strong and courageous, and it was truly an honor to have this deep and thoughtful conversation with her. I hope you guys like it. I'm your host, Josie Van Dyke, and I'm sitting next to someone very special, extremely influential, and someone whose story has impacted so many, Elizabeth Smart, everybody. Welcome to Weekly Trash.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And excuse my voice.
No, it's sexy. We already said that. It's a good sounding voice. We love it. Elizabeth, thank you so much for sitting down with me and letting me dumpster deep dive you. From a young age, I remember hearing your story and being like so aware of my surroundings, so aware of things that were going on. And so I'm excited to hear more about who you were before your abduction and then where you are now. So do you mind if I dumpster deep dive you?
Go ahead.
Okay, Elizabeth, where are you from?
I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City, Utah girl. And what kind of child were you growing up?
I was a good girl.
Okay.
I was an obedient girl.
Yeah.
I didn't really fight with my parents. I didn't really clash with my parents. I was the second of 6 kids.
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know, happy to go with the flow for the most part, I think.
Who were you the closest with in your family?
Out of my siblings at that time, it was definitely my little sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the age gap between you two?
There's about 5 years between us.
Okay, that's a decent age gap.
Yeah.
And so with your parents, did you feel super close to them as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we were all pretty close to each other.
And was your childhood a good childhood?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was quite a sheltered childhood.
Yeah.
My parents were very protective of all of us, and I'd say they were pretty strict with all of us. But I would say I had a very wonderful childhood.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but today's episode is brought to you by Spearmint Love. Mamas, have you seen the latest drop from Spearmint Love? Their new floral collection is here, and it's absolutely stunning. Think matching sunsuits and dresses made just for baby girls all the way up to 6 years old. Perfect for brunch with the fam, the upcoming outdoor wedding, or a sunny day at the beach. We're talking picture-perfect florals that instantly elevate her look without breaking the bank. Soft, breathable fabrics, thoughtful details, and styles that move with your little one. Because cute shouldn't mean uncomfortable. So if you want her to feel like a little flower queen this season, check out spearmintlove.com and grab your favorites before they bloom away. You can use code WEEKLYTRASH at checkout for an exclusive discount. Thank you, Spearmint Love, for sponsoring today's episode. When you were 14, you were abducted, and that definitely impacted your life in huge ways. You were kidnapped for almost 10 months. While you were in captivity, were there moments that you would think about at home, like times at home to keep you holding on to hope?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a real fear actually of forgetting who I really was because my captors almost immediately after they kidnapped me, they said, my name wasn't Elizabeth anymore and that I would no longer be allowed to speak about my family and I would no longer be able to speak about my life prior to the moment that they kidnapped me, and the thought that maybe somehow I would forget who I really was because I wasn't using my name and because I wasn't regularly speaking about my family.
Yeah.
That maybe was irrational, I don't know, but that was actually a very real fear that I would somehow forget.
Yeah.
And so it was really important to me to try to remember everything I could about my life prior to being kidnapped.
Was there a certain thing that you held on to try to keep your identity when they were trying to strip you from it?
I think it was just remembering. Maybe not.
Yeah. Is it hard to talk about? still?
No, I wouldn't say it's hard to talk about. I don't know if there was like an exact memory that I had though
Yeah.
that like
Stuck out.
stuck out to remind me that I'm Elizabeth Smart.
Yeah.
Um,
What was your inner dialogue at the time? Like, were you telling yourself, I will get out of here, I'll be fine? Or was it more like just survive?
um, a- there was a lot of inner dialogue. I'd say it went down lots of different pathways. I mean, one of them was definitely just survive, just do whatever you have to, just
Yeah.
survive. There was another one that was like, okay, well, how do I survive? Like, what is the best way to survive? And I started thinking, okay, surviving means staying alive. How do I stay alive? Well, maybe if I'm a nice person, maybe if I'm nice to these people, it'll make it harder for them to want to kill me. So if I do what they say, maybe that's a better way for me to survive because why would you want to kill someone who's nice to you?
Yeah.
So I remember thinking of that tactic and in like specifically, um, a lot of it was just, it doesn't matter what this is. If it means that you're going to live another day, just do it.
Did you feel any human connection while in captivity?
With my captors,
Yeah.
um,
Could you see any bit of humanity in them?
no, but that's because if they did, they would have to admit they were wrong and they would have to acknowledge all of the terrible, terrible things that they'd done, and they would never do that.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine what you went through at such a young age, and it's really crazy to be sitting next to you if I'm being honest because I've known your story since I was 10 years old. And if you would have told me, down the road you're going to be sitting next to her asking her questions, I'd be like, "Really? No way," cuz you really are so inspiring for what you've been through and what you continue to talk about and let people know and be aware that these things happen and just be such an advocate. Um, but the day that you were found, what was going through your head at that time?
So for 9 months, I had been raped and I had been abused and I had been starved, and nobody was ever there to protect me.
Yeah.
Nobody ever stopped my captors from hurting me. And so when my captors would threaten me with things like, if you ever say anything we don't want you to say, if you ever do anything we don't want you to do, we will kill you. If we don't kill you, we'll kill your family. Those threats were very, very real to me. So not only did I feel a burden of staying alive myself, but I also felt a burden of protecting my
Yeah.
family and keeping them alive. And, I knew what my captors were capable of. Again, those threats felt incredibly real. I did not know what the police were capable of. I had seen police approach us and
Yeah.
turn around and walk away. So I had more faith in my captors' follow through than I did in the police's ability to protect me. So in that moment, yeah, I thought I was protecting myself. I thought I was protecting my family.
That's really hard. And you obviously got to see your parents that day. What did that feel like in that moment? Did you feel safe yet or not yet?
I mean, it was very much a roller coaster of a day.
Yeah.
I had been handcuffed on site, which made me think I'd done something wrong, that
Yeah.
I was uh that I was at fault for something, that I was in trouble, and I actually thought I was going to jail.
Really?
I mean, if
Yeah.
if they thought I was innocent, like why would you handcuff me? And like, not to stereotype people, but if you were gonna stereotype me, do I really look like a threat?
Yeah. Did they say why they handcuffed you?
I mean, I just don't think anybody thought I'd come back alive. I don't think anyone had ever been trained on what to do
Yeah.
in that situation. Because I hadn't just immediately admitted who I was. I think they probably were suspicious of what had happened the last 9 months. And then, I mean, I also, as wrong as I feel that that was to do to me, I also just have to acknowledge law enforcement, they really put their lives on the line every day. Like when they receive a call to go check out a fight or a dispute at a house, they really don't know what they're walking into. So do they need to prioritize their safety? Absolutely. And I can understand that. Just
It's hard.
just maybe not to me.
Yeah, you were a 15-year-old girl when you were in captivity. 9 months is a long time. How were you keeping track of time? Did you realize it had been 9 months?
Yeah, they had a calendar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I knew.
So you had known.
Yeah.
Each month, did it get harder?
It just seemed less likely that I would be rescued. And it seemed to me that I was going to be with my captors for the long haul. So, I mean, because, I was 14 when they kidnapped me. They were like 48, 49, and like 54 something. Like they were late 40s, early 50s. So, stood to reason I'd outlive them.
Yeah.
If everyone dies by natural causes, that is.
Right.
And so as the months ticked by, it did feel like outliving my captors was the best chance for survival.
Which that's probably a scary thought to think about. That's a lot of years and a lot of time that you have to mentally
Yeah,
prepare
it
for.
it it
That's,
was a scary thought. And that's why I think I was afraid that I would forget who I
yeah.
was.
Well, and everything about your story is scary. I think a lot of things about it scared me and other younger kids that could happen to them. When you were found and your parents found you, did you understand the gravity of all the people looking for you? Did you even know that was happening?
I knew that there was a search effort being put on for me because my captor used to bring missing posters and newspaper articles back to where he had me hidden to show me. So I knew there was a search effort going on, but I did not know how extensive it really was.
Because, yeah, it was a nationwide look for you. When you were able to come home, did you seek counsel? Did you seek therapy? What did you try to do to get back to any sense of normal?
Um, the day that I came home, well, once I got back to my house, once I realized I wasn't in trouble and that I was going home, I just knew that I didn't ever want to miss out on anything again because for 9 months, I'd missed my freshman year of high school. I had missed um, birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I'd missed my siblings' birthdays. I'd missed what I felt like was so much. I remember seeing um, a newspaper that had a picture of a girl that I was in junior high with, and she was a freshman, but she was playing on the senior varsity soccer team. And I remember just being like, feeling like, I mean, it just felt like it was a punch to my stomach because the rest of the world was moving on without me.
Yeah.
And they didn't wait for me, which, of course, like, I knew time was moving on, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it just, how could it move on without me the way that it had? So when I got home, I just didn't want to miss out on anything. And I remember I just didn't understand what therapy was. I had a very misconstrued idea of what it was. And I remember thinking it would have been nice to talk to someone
Yeah.
during it,
Yeah.
but I've survived it. Why would I want to go back and talk about it when I've already survived it? Like, I want to get busy living my life now, not reliving the past. I made it through that. And so that was very much my mindset at that time. And that was because I just didn't know what therapy was. I had a very mixed up idea of what it was, and my parents were very worried about me at the time. So they actually went to therapy because they were like, what do we do?
So they went to therapy, but you didn't go to
Yes,
therapy.
yes, what do we do?
And I mean, that's really nice that your parents let you make that decision. Looking back, do you wish they would have forced you to go to therapy?
No,
No?
no. I think that for a victim who has had no say or control in their life whatsoever, one of the best things you can do is allow them to make their own decisions. And a lot of survivors will know uh, when they're ready for therapy. And if therapy is something that they're interested in, like, they will be ready for it. But today, I think we all just say, "Oh, he needs therapy," or "Oh,
Yeah.
she needs therapy." That may or may not be true,
It's a
but
loose term.
it is a loose term, and therapy really only works if you are willing to put the work in. So if you're forcing someone to go who's not willing to be there, who doesn't want to like actively be involved, you're wasting time and money. I also just should say I am a believer in therapy.
Have you gone to therapy
I'm not
since?
anti-therapy. I had a few sessions when my parents divorced.
Yeah.
Um, but I do believe in
Oh,
therapy.
no.
And I think it's a really
Therapy's a
good thing.
great thing.
I just didn't understand it at
Yeah.
the time.
Well, and you make a really good point that, someone had been controlling every aspect of you and your life for 9 months. For then you to come home and be forced to do something you didn't want to do, that in itself would be triggering of what you had experienced for 9 months in a way. So that's a very valid point. And I think that as you get older and as you think if that's something you want, that's when you can do it. But forcing someone into it isn't going to be beneficial at all. How much of your family and even faith played into you healing?
I think my family really made all the difference because the majority of cases of abuse are typically by people that you know and many times by family members. And I think I am so incredibly lucky because my experience was, at the hands of a stranger. When I came home, I was always believed, I was always supported. My family was always behind me. There was never a division of, are you sure that's what happened? Did that really happen? If that happened, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, I know them. They would never do that.
Yeah.
You're going to tear our family apart. I never was faced with those kinds of things. And too many survivors are. Way too many survivors are. And so being able to come back to that kind of loving, stable environment, that helped me just immensely.
Well, family is a huge part of healing for a lot, but you need to have a support system. And it sounds like you had that. Did the abduction and the trauma you faced, did that affect your connection with your siblings and your parents?
Um, no, I think all of my siblings would probably say things, things, you can't really go back. You have to create a new normal, but our
Yeah.
relationships felt the same. They
Yeah.
didn't feel different.
Well, that's good. How can families and communities better support survivors of trauma and abuse?
Well, the first thing they can do is start by saying, I believe you
Yeah.
and I support you. Do not question them by saying, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I feel like when victims hear that those words, why didn't you? You might be asking out of curiosity, but their brain hears it as you should have.
Yeah.
And where they've already survived something horrific, it's not fair to then blame them that they should have done something more. I mean, they survived, and there are already so many who don't survive, who did nothing wrong,
Yeah.
that they need our support. So the first thing we should do is start by saying, I believe you. I'm here for you. How can I help? Do you want my help? What can I do to help you? I think that really can set the trajectory as to whether that person um, seeks out help or reports it, goes sort of on more of that upward trajectory rather than bottling it up inside and having it eat them from the inside out. Because I think that is one of the most tragic things that I see in this area is that so many victims are not believed or that they are blamed for what's happened, that they bury it inside and it literally destroys them from the inside out. They are not living happy, fulfilling lives. They have just like this poison eating away at them from the inside because they were never able to express it, release it, deal with it. They were blamed, they were accused, a fault was put on them, and that just is not how it should be.
Was there anyone in your life that you think didn't? I mean, obviously, it's the first time that they ever had someone close to them go through what you did, but that maybe didn't handle it the way they should have? Were there any moments where things were said that kind of stung?
I mean, there have been stupid comments
Yeah.
made. Typically it's not my immediate family, but I mean, like, I remember being uh in a class and the teacher was saying, oh, like, what do you look for in a partner, like when you're looking to get married? And people were saying, oh, kindness, loyalty, blah blah blah. One boy said, oh, a virgin, and I was sitting right next to him, and like I knew him, I thought we were friends, and I was just like, oh, well, I was raped. That wasn't like a choice.
Yeah.
But that was shocking. And then the irony is he actually asked me out the next day.
Of
Or
course.
like I have been on a date where the the young man who took me out started asking me questions, and one of the questions he asked me was, "Well, you were raped so many times. Did there ever just come a point that you were like, well, I might as well enjoy this? Did you ever just like lie back and enjoy being raped?" I just remember, what?
How old were you when that
Like
question was?
21?
Oh, so it was a grown man
It was a
asking a
grown, yeah,
idiotic
it was not a
question.
little boy.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so to me, I'm like, wow, we are not educating
No.
enough.
No, not at
Like,
all.
not in this space. And for this space, I mean, I just want to say right now, there is a difference between rape, sexual violence, versus like healthy, loving, consensual sex.
Yeah.
Those are not the same thing.
No, not at all. And that kind of brings me to a question. I'm kind of skipping ahead, but you're married now and you have a beautiful family. How did you meet your husband?
So I did serve a mission for my church, and we met in France. He was also called to serve on a mission in France as well, and we met there. And he asked if I wanted to go on a date in 2 years when he finished, and I said sure. I mean, I can barely make Salt Lake to Provo work, but yeah,
Yeah.
Salt Lake to Aberdeen, Scotland. That sounds like it's gonna work.
Yeah. Did he know who you were?
Not when he met me, no.
Okay,
But all the
so
other missionaries around us knew, and they're like, oh, it's Elizabeth Smart. It's Elizabeth Smart. So, I mean, he learned who I was, but
yeah.
that didn't ever really, like, he didn't live it the way that maybe all
Yeah.
the others had lived it, so it didn't phase him. And yeah, anyways, after 2 years, yeah, we went on a date, and well, now here we are, 13 years later, married and 3 kids.
That's so beautiful. Do you feel like because he didn't necessarily know all the details, do you feel like that helped the relationship? Because you got to maybe tell it at your time and the way you wanted to? Because obviously in Utah, your story was so well known that majority of people would have known who you are in your story. And that probably isn't a good feeling knowing like you're walking around and everyone knows your whole life. Was there something
I mean,
about it that you liked that he didn't know?
it was, yeah, it was nice just to know that he liked me for me.
Yeah.
Like, he asked me out simply because he wanted to get to know me better. And I was just a girl to him. I wasn't Elizabeth Smart. I was just a girl. And so it was nice just feeling like he genuinely was interested in me just for me. And
Yeah.
none of the other stuff mattered.
Yeah. With intimacy with him, I think a lot of survivors of sexual abuse struggle with being intimate again. Not even intimate again because the first initial act isn't intimate. It's very violating and traumatic. How did you ever initiate being intimate after going through that?
Well, I mean, I think had I come back and been uh, forced into a relationship or immediately dove into a relationship like day two of being home, I think my life would be very different now. But I was still a kid,
Yeah.
and I went to high school. I went on to college. Like I had opportunities to study abroad. I lived abroad in France for a year and a half. Like I had uh, so much more time to grow up and experience more life and realize that I had the power. And at any time that I didn't want to go on a date with someone, I could say no, that no was an option. And I didn't have to marry anyone I didn't want to marry. And I wasn't going to be forced into a marriage with a man older than my dad.
Yeah.
So I think all of those played a factor in my, I don't know, ability to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Just realizing that I had equal say really made the difference for me. And that, recognizing that every choice I made was mine to make. And that made all the difference for me.
Was he the first man that you ever had feelings for?
I mean, I had a high school boyfriend
Okay.
and like I dated plenty, but yeah, he invited me to come to Scotland, and I remember walking off the plane in Scotland and walking in through the airport, and he was like waiting in the airport area. And I remember walking up to him, and he just like immediately was there, like sweeping me in his arms. And Scotland, let me be clear, America is home. Scotland does not feel like home,
Right.
but he felt like home to me. And so for me in that moment, I was like, yep,
He's the
this is
one.
it. He's home. Wherever he is home.
And now you're a mom to three beautiful babies. They're not babies anymore, but
They'll always be my
they're
babies.
always going to be your babies. Did you always want to be a mom? And did being put in the situation you were put in ever change your feelings on wanting to be a mom?
I always wanted to be a mom. Um, yeah, that was always something that I wanted from honestly, as far back as I can remember. I did always want to be a mom. Well, I just remember bringing my oldest daughter home from the hospital and feeling like my heart moved from my throat, from my chest and moved up into my throat. And just, I'm responsible for like this perfect little angel, and I need to protect her, and I need to empower her as she gets old enough to protect herself, because I won't always be there. She'll want to leave me one day.
Yeah, a lot of anxiety.
And so I mean, those have been like things that, yeah, I think about a lot, and I talk to her a lot, to the point where she's like, I know, Mom, I know you just want me to be safe. I know.
Yeah. Do your kids know what you experienced?
They all know that I was kidnapped. Like they could tell you the overarching story, but my oldest could tell you the most, but they couldn't tell you nitty gritty details right now.
Would you would you let them read your book down the road?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, if they wanted to, they could read it.
And be because that's a your book goes into a lot of detail about everything that happened to you. When you were writing that book, was that hard to relive certain things?
Um, I don't think I mean, it was hard in that like, I wanted to be as accurate as possible. I wanted to be as true to the 14, 15-year-old girl that I was during that time period. Um, And so trying to articulate that to the best of my ability, that was a challenge because, I mean, putting words to like an experience that was as intense and honestly horrifying as it was, it's hard. But also wanting people to be able to turn the page and finish because, I mean, like, I see like, I don't know, even like the movie The Fox and the Hound, the Disney movie, like
Yeah.
I cry in that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or like I cry in books all the time, or like
Yeah.
I just had to finally stop watching movies on airplanes because I just start sobbing, and the people next to me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm
It's just a
fine.
movie.
It's just a movie." Yeah, so I just can't watch movies on planes anymore.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I want people like if they start it, I don't want them to stop because it's so terrible they can't finish because it does have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like I am truly happy today, and um, there are a lot of happy endings out there.
There is hope. There's a lot of hope in your story for sure. With your children, though, talking about your experience, what kind of conversation as a parent can we be having with our children to teach them safety, to teach them about these kind of situations and make sure they know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate without scaring them?
I mean, hopefully you know your child better than anyone else. So you know what is appropriate for your child and what is not. But also, I think maybe one of the best pieces of advice I have been given, and just everyone keep in mind, I'm not a parenting expert, is the best time to start talking to your child is when they start asking questions. And in my experience thus far, that is well before I'm ready to start
Yeah.
talking about it.
It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
But
slow
then I
down.
think, I'd rather they hear this from me
Yeah.
than the internet or their friends or someone else.
Yeah.
And so it has like brought a lot of conversations I necessarily wasn't ready to have, but it has opened that doorway. And I think it's like I think an easy place for parents to talk about is just even naming like your body parts the correct names, like a penis is a penis and not attaching shame to it. It's
Right.
the same as like an elbow or a nose. Like, when your kids are just like small, you're like, where's your nose? Where's your eyes? Where's
Yeah.
your mouth? Like, I'm not saying you need to be like, where's your penis? I'm not saying you need to do that, but
Right.
we don't attach shame to any of these other body parts. We shouldn't attach shame to, vulva, vagina,
Yeah.
penis, because I think back just to my own experience, we did not, like, those are your privates.
Yeah.
They're your privates. Okay. Those are your privates. And that was all that they were really referred to as. So then when I was essentially interrogated the day after I was rescued, I was brought into this room with these two psychiatrists, and my parents had been told if I would speak to them that they could stand proxy for me in the trial. And so I already was not comfortable talking about what happened,
Right.
let alone the fact they're two middle-aged men, let alone the fact that they're both very clearly religious. All these things I was already made me very highly uncomfortable. But they'd ask me, like, for example, they'd ask me, like, what happened? And I say, well, he hurt me. They'd be like, well, how did he hurt you? Well, he molested me. Well, how'd they molest you? Well, he raped me. Okay, well, can you explain what rape is? Like, well, he forced himself inside me. They're like, well, no, we need you to say the words. Can you please say the words? And so then I had to get to a point where I finally said, he forced his penis into my vagina repeatedly. And just saying those words, just those words, hurt me a lot and was very difficult for me to say in that situation. And heaven forbid anything ever happen to you or your children, but having the added shame of like feeling like words, body parts are shameful Like that is just another layer that nobody
It's
needs.
unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. Exactly.
Yeah. I experienced a moment recently at the park that was triggering to me because it brought up a lot of past emotions. I experienced child on child sexual abuse as a young little girl, and I witnessed children at a park, and I ended up calling police, and it was a whole incident, and I didn't realize how much it triggered me until later. Have there been moments in your life now where you see things or you hear things that trigger you in ways that you thought maybe you were healed or that you had forgotten about?
Um, I mean, first of all, I just want to say, like, it is terrifying, um, recognizing how child on child abuse is on the rise.
Yeah.
Like, I just want everybody to realize, like, that is unfortunately becoming more and more common. And it makes it all the more important to have these kinds of conversations because children model behavior they see.
Yeah.
And this is inappropriate behavior, what children are doing to other children, and clearly what children are seeing.
Yeah, they've learned
Whether
it.
that's being modeled to them on social media, TV, within their home, this is inappropriate for children. So, like, first of all, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Um, as to your question, um, I think I what I experienced is why I feel as passionate as I do about what I do, about what the Elizabeth Smart Foundation stands for and focuses on. Because for years, I felt so much shame and, as crazy as it sounds, guilt, even though I knew I didn't do anything wrong
Right.
around what had happened to me. And I felt like I was the only one who had ever experienced it. I didn't hear anyone else sharing their stories. I uh, I just felt like I was the only I was the only one. I was the only person who had ever gone through, and I was embarrassed. I felt like I was less than everybody else, and so when I finally felt like I was forced to talk about it, which was in preparation for the trial, which was, the better part of a decade later. And then, of course, at the trial, I just remember feeling like my story is not just for other people's entertainment and consumption. Like if the details of the worst moments of my life are going to be out there, then I'm going to make sure it's out there for a reason. And because it took so long between the time that I was rescued to the time I actually testified, I had met so many survivors in that time period who shared their stories with me. And I began to realize just how rampant sexual abuse and violence truly is, and how, um, frankly, ordinary what I experienced was. And so for me, that was all of the um, that was all the drive I needed
Yeah.
to then really move forward in this field of advocacy and sharing my story and speaking out and trying to provide hope and education to everyone and specifically survivors.
Um, and I think you're doing an amazing, beautiful job at it, and I admire it because I don't know if I could go through what you went through and continue to put myself in the public eye and talk about it. Is that ever hard? Do you ever wish that you weren't in the public eye?
I I mean, I never was like the popular girl at school. Like I was the
Really?
wallflower and I was fine. I was fine being the wallflower.
In your family, were you the wallflower?
I mean, like I was I was the good girl. Like I didn't argue with my parents, really. Like, that was more like my brothers. I mean,
Yeah.
like, my brothers might get grounded, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
Like, my mom, she would be like, hey, Elizabeth, she wouldn't ask my older brother. She'd ask me to, like, watch my younger siblings if she had to go, like, run a quick errand to the store. Like, I don't know. That's kind of who I was.
Yeah.
So, of course, there have been times that there have been things where I was like, why is this happening? Like, I actually didn't ask to be in this spotlight. I didn't actually, like, try to get to where I am, like, intentionally, like, it
Yeah.
just happened. So, yeah, there have been times, or, like, where people have picked up on things, and in my mind, I'm like, seriously? Of all the things that I've done, this is what you're focusing on?
Yeah.
Sure, there's definitely been those times.
Yeah. How do you remain to protect your privacy and your peace, but also being such a public figure?
Yeah, I'm still working on that. I mean,
Yeah.
I am open to tips if anyone
Yeah.
has any.
Do you have certain things that are just like I won't do this, or I won't share this, or I won't show my kids with this, or are there certain things like boundaries that you've set within yourself where you're like, I need this to be for
I
me?
mean, I only talk about things that I feel comfortable talking about. There
Yeah.
are some things I will never share
Yeah.
because I just don't know if I'll ever be comfortable talking about them.
Yeah.
There are some aspects of abuse that I've never spoken about, and I just won't.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yes, there are boundaries that I set, but as far as, like, what I share, those are all things that I feel comfortable talking
Yeah.
about. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I have control of my mouth most of the time.
We
Uh,
try.
Hopefully, I don't stick my foot in my mouth
I
too
mean, I think I
often.
stuck my foot in my mouth in the first 2 minutes of this episode saying your voice was sexy. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Guys, I promise Elizabeth has a sense of humor, okay? She thinks it's funny, okay?
It's true. No, I'm flattered. We were just joking about
We were
on the way
joking
over.
about
I
it
was like,
earlier.
I'm Phoebe Buffay from Friends when she gets sick.
Yes, it's beautiful. We love it.
um, yeah, no, you didn't stick your foot in your mouth, but like, hopefully,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we all make faux pas, but I would hope for the most part people would be like, that was not the best said, but I
Right.
realized the intention behind it
Yes.
was good.
Yes.
Hopefully people can give me some grace
Yeah.
that way, but I do try to stay true um to me
Yeah.
and to my story, and, like, what I feel comfortable with.
And you really, like I said, you're building a beautiful community of people. I'm sure you get so many people in your DMs telling you their stories, or even in person, because you feel like a safe place for them because you are so open about what you've been through. Before we go on talking more about all the things you've started and built, your one of your abusers was released in 2018. What did that feel like to know that she was going to be free? Did you feel like the justice system failed you and failed other people for being protected?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed when she got out, because, I mean, she she I felt like she was just as guilty as he was.
Yeah.
Like, she encouraged the sexual abuse. She watched the sexual abuse. Um, like, she was just as guilty as he was, and yet she was being let out. And I mean, I would just want to make note that she had been married to a different man before she was married to my captor. She had 6 children from her prior marriage, and all 6 of her children, they were all older than me. I could have been her grandchild, and she let it happen. Like, she encouraged it to happen. She watched it happen. Like, she was part of the problem. And for me, I just feel like when I was first brought into the hidden campsite where I was held captive, when I first realized there was a woman there, I felt a degree of relief because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, there's a woman here. Like, nothing that bad can happen to me.
Yeah.
Like, no woman would just sit by
Yeah.
and watch a child, another little girl, be hurt.
Go through that. Yeah.
And so, just like the betrayal that I felt uh, through like womankind, if that makes
Yeah.
sense,
No, it does.
was every bit as deep as what he had done to me. So it was very disappointing when she was released.
Sorry to interrupt, but today's episode is brought to you by Bohm. It is finally warming up outside. Thank goodness. Spring is calling, and Bohm has the styles to answer. Whether you're on the hunt for a perfect Easter dress, a Mother's Day gift that actually impresses her, or denim that fits like a dream, Bohm's got you covered. Their spring collection is packed with effortless, wearable pieces that make getting dressed so simple and easy. Use code 20JOSIE, 20JOSIE, for 20% off your order. Don't miss out. Head over there now at bohm.com, BOHME.com, and refresh your closet now for spring. And don't forget to use that code 20JOSIE at checkout. And thanks, Bohm, for sponsoring today's episode. Do you think there's certain things, obviously, there's certain things within the justice system that need to be fixed?
Absolutely. I mean, it very much is a legal system and not a justice system for the victim. I mean, victims are, in my, the way I see it, is that victims are placed up on a stand and they're basically judged. Is this victim believable? Is this victim, like, was she flaunting herself? You know, we see cases where their history is brought up to try to establish the character of the victim. Is this character, is this victim truly worthy of our belief? Is this victim truly worthy of our justice? And this is not a question of like this victim's so-called worthiness. This is them telling their story and us supposed to be providing justice.
Yeah.
And the truth is there is nothing, there is no form of justice that can ever give me back the 9 months that were taken from me, the very abrupt ending to my childhood. That can never be given back to me. I mean, like, for every victim out there, there is justice really is not attainable because what has been taken, what has been broken, those can't be given back.
No.
They will never be given back. Their lives have been altered forever.
Yeah.
And so we have a legal system. We don't have a justice system. And the sad truth is so few victims. It's literally 1 out of 1,000 predators ever is successfully prosecuted. I mean, ever spends a day in jail. Like, it's such a difficult, unfortunately, crime to successfully prosecute. A lot of the cases just aren't taken on because it's he said, she said.
That is just, it's such a shame. And I think a lot of people listening have either experienced some form of abuse or they know somebody who has. And a lot of
Everyone,
yeah,
statistically, everyone knows someone who has been abused, whether they've disclosed it to you or not.
right.
The statistics are so high, everyone knows someone who's been abused.
And it's just, it's really sad. Do you have any words of encouragement to a survivor right now who's still trying to put the pieces back together and find hope?
Absolutely. First of all, I would want them to know that they didn't do anything wrong, that whatever their actions were leading up to what happened, they're not at fault. At the end of the day, the blame 100%. I don't care if it's from a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, I don't care who it is, a stranger. At the end of the day, the fault lays solely 100% on the perpetrator. The second thing I would want them to know is that There is nothing that anyone could do to you that can take away your value as a human being. You were born with intrinsic worth and you will die with that. No one can ever take that away. I would want them to know that we live in a world of labels. Like it or not, we live in a world that is obsessed with labels. And it is so easy to feel labeled, defined by what you go through. But know that this is not 100% of who you are. Yes, this is a part of you. It might alter your life, but it doesn't have to define you. You get to define yourself, and you do that by how you live every single day. You do that by all the decisions that you make. And then I could go on forever, but just the last thing that I would want to say is you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved. Find the things in life that bring you to true joy and fulfillment so that when you are going through those hard times, you can take a break and you can still find happiness along the way.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk about the Elizabeth Smart Foundation a little bit. When did you start the Elizabeth Smart Foundation?
So I started the Elizabeth Smart Foundation back in 2011.
Okay. So it's been over a decade.
It has, but we didn't know what we were doing in the beginning.
Okay. What's changed?
And also, I knew I wanted to do something in the anti-sexual exploitation area, anti-sexual violence area. And for years, we were just kind of behind the scenes. We connected people. We we would talk about things, but it was always kind of in collaboration with other people. And it was really, let me see, it was probably about 5, 6 years ago that I had children. I'd gotten a little bit older. I had recognized the fact that I am not executive director material.
You're not?
Believe it or not, no, I'm not.
You went to college, right?
And I studied music.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, it's not your thing.
No. And so it was really about at that point that I was like, now is the time. Like I'm in a really good place in my life. Like I'm married and I have my children and I am ready to really just step forward and step up the Elizabeth Smart Foundation impact and reach. And I just felt like all of this time every year, I'd kept learning and learning more and more about this space. I mean, more than just my experience, but
right.
I'd met so many survivors and I felt like I really began to see where the gaps were in the years from my captivity till about 6 years ago when ESF really started to move forward and take a much bolder stance in this area of sexual violence. And so that's when it started. And now, so we have, we could be here all day.
I got all day. I got all day.
But we have, just everything that we do, I want it to provide hope. I want it to empower. I want it to be helpful, be useful, be educational to survivors. We have a program called Smart Defense, which is a self-defense program, but it is very heavily trauma informed. And our director of it, she is a survivor herself, but she's also 5-time world champion for her weight class in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
She's done cage fighting. She's done it all.
She's a badass.
Yeah, she is a badass. But she is also so lovely and so kind and recognizes she is incredibly trauma informed herself. And she recognizes when someone is like having a moment, and she's very, very sensitive to the people who come in and take the classes. And so it's more than just learning how to strike and learning how to kick. It's, about having situational awareness. It's about, even just the way that you carry yourself, because predators, for the most part, they're they're looking for opportunity.
Yeah.
And you think where we're all connected to our phones today, and we're constantly like kind of hunched over
Yeah.
looking down, that is not us being aware. And she'll talk about that kind of thing. And then again, I will never fault someone for taking our program, taking this class, and, absolutely beating the crap out of a predator. But ultimately, like, that is not our goal. Our goal is to give you the skills to get away.
Yeah.
Not to stay and have a,
Right.
knockout
Brawl it
fight.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's get away. That is the number one priority. Get away, get to safety. And so that is the focus of Smart Defense. But it's just been incredible. I mean, it is just so empowering. One of the first things she has women do when they come to her class, women and girls, is sit down and just say one nice thing about themselves, one thing they like about themselves. It could be anything. Like, I, I like,
What do you like about yourself?
I like everything about
You're like,
myself.
I like everything.
I
That's what
like
we love to
me.
hear. Yes.
um, no, but like she has them say it, and honestly, sometimes it breaks my heart because some people just like have the hardest time saying anything nice
Yeah.
about themselves.
They don't have
Um,
any confidence.
yeah, and that changes because every time they come back, it's like something that at least every class, every time I've gone through it, she always starts it with that. And there's a lot of breath work involved, and like it's also amazing because she has women scream at the beginning of the class or yell at the beginning of the class, and it's like, stay back. Like it's not very like loud or forceful,
Yeah.
but by the end of the class, there's like real power behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Like use your voice, like step into your power. Because women are powerful. We're all more powerful. We're all stronger than we think we are. So I love that. We have our podcast, which we share survivor stories. We talk about a lot of the issues surrounding sexual violence and abuse. We have experts come in and discuss. I mean, whether it's therapy or how trauma physically affects your brain. So we do that. We have another one of our campaigns that is transforming, growing, ever growing, is our We Believe You campaign. And initially it started out just as that.
Yeah.
I wanted, because so many survivors aren't believed, I've spoken in every state in America, and without fail, if I have the opportunity to meet with the audience afterwards, I always have someone come up to me, disclose to me, and they'll say things like, I've never told anyone this before, but the same thing happened to me. And, or I tried to tell someone this and they didn't believe me. And so, like, that is just unacceptable to me. So I wanted to start something where survivors knew they weren't alone, where communities could come in and help survivors know that there are hundreds, thousands of people there that would believe them.
Yeah.
Because I really do think that believing victims is really that first step in helping them on their healing process. So I
Absolutely.
wanted it to kind of be twofold, uh, having that support system there for the survivor, but then also encouraging communities to become a safe place for survivors to disclose, like recognizing how important it is to believe survivors, not to just turn around and question them.
Yeah.
That's not your job. Let
Yeah.
let the professionals do that. Like your job is to be a safe place. And so that is where it's been. But as we move forward, we have big plans for it.
When you have the garden party
Yes.
coming up, which I will be
Yes.
attending.
Thank you.
Have you done that every year or is this the
This
first
is
year?
our first year, and I'm so excited. It is going to be the best, like the best the best party, the best
Vibes. Fun,
fundraiser
yeah.
you have ever been to, because it's going to be beautiful. Like there's going to be florals. We're having like a bloom bar, and we're having a charm bar, and there's going to be so many like delicious food, but desserts.
Love desserts.
I
Sweet
mean,
treats.
I have been like, one of my New Year's resolutions was to eat better, and I have. I have,
Congratulations.
but like at the
Sweet
garden
treats.
party, hello.
It's cheat day.
That is what I'm going for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like it's going to be such a wonderful night. Like they'll be dancing and like it'll be so much fun. But like more than anything, like just by going, I know it sounds silly, but by going, like the cost of the ticket is going to be directly impacting our programs, which directly impact survivors and victims and education. Like the impact that this garden party can have is what I'm like most excited about.
Yeah. Are there still tickets available?
Yes.
Where can people buy tickets?
Yes. So I will send you all the links
Perfect.
and everything.
I'll put it all in the podcast description so you guys can all go to the garden party. I'll see you there. Come find me. Okay, last question before I have you pick a topic from that trash can that we'll both answer is, if 15-year-old Elizabeth Smart could see herself now, what do you think she would say?
Holy shit, that's me.
Would she be shocked?
Yeah, well, she wouldn't say that because she would never swear.
She would never.
She would never swear.
She would be like, holy shiz. Holy shiz.
Don't even know if she'd say that.
Holy crap?
Maybe.
Maybe.
She'd be like, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Is that really me?
We made it. We made it. And you're so inspiring. Seriously, thank you so much for letting me dumpster deep dive you. I could talk to you and ask you so many more questions, but you are a busy mother, wife that needs to get home. So if you'll pick a topic out of that trash can, we'll both answer it. And they're all very PG rated for anybody concerned. Okay. Sometimes I put some spicy ones in there, but I said, not for Elizabeth Smart. We're going to keep it classy for Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you.
Your rings are beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you. If you could only watch one show for the rest of your life, what would it be?
What shows does Elizabeth Smart watch?
There's two.
Okay, I'm excited.
There's two. Friends.
I'm with you on that one.
And the British Baking Show.
Really? My kids love that show. It's on Netflix Kids, and my kids always turn it on. I need to start watching with them.
I love it.
Do you like to bake?
I mean, yes, but I don't do it very often because like dinner has to be made every night. Baking does not. Yeah. And they both create mess. And I don't always want to clean up double the mess.
Yeah. What's your go-to treat that you like to bake if you do bake?
I feel like I go through
phases.
Yeah. Right now, I'm really into cinnamon rolls.
Oh, cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
With the cream cheese frosting.
Yes.
That's delicious. That's delicious. I think my two shows, I think Friends might be one of them because it's just a good, feel-good show. It's cheesy.
You can turn it on any episode.
Yeah, it's good background noise.
Doesn't matter, like the storyline. You don't necessarily have to be aware of it. You can fall asleep to it. It's funny. It's stupid, whatever.
It's feel good. I like feel good stuff. I feel like the world, I mean, you probably know this better than anyone. The world can be dark and it's
the last thing I want to do is consume someone else's trauma before I go to bed.
No, we don't need more nightmares. We want it to be light and fluffy. So I think mine would be Friends and The Office. The Office is another lighthearted, good show.
I can understand that.
We need to keep it lighthearted, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. This was a pleasure to get to meet you and get to talk to you. And I know the audience is all very excited to be able to know a little bit more about you if they didn't already. So thank you so, so, so much.
Thank you.
And don't forget to take out your trash. Bye, you guys.